Hi, this is Peter Propp, and the timer just started.
Hi, I'm John Blossom, and welcome to another episode of 10-Minute Strategy. Today we have a guest, Dan Weingrod, who's going to be talking with us about what happened at SXSW down in Texas just a few weeks ago. An event that is still hot, but it's very interesting as to what makes it hot for individuals going there.
Right.
So tell us a little bit about your experience, about how you were approaching the event before with your strategy to make the most of it, why you were at it, and what you did as follow-up.
Sure. Well, one of the things that was really very interesting about this year at South by Southwest is it was actually kind of the perfect use case for Foursquare that I've ever really seen. The fact of the matter is that I've been using Gowalla since actually about the last time I went to South by Southwest, a year before. And I turned to Foursquare because I saw a couple of friends of mine who I'd actually never met who were going down to South by Southwest, and they had gotten onto Foursquare. I got onto Foursquare, sent out invitations to various folks I knew were going down, and really the replies and the confirmations just started rolling in. And then actually once I got down there, it was actually kind of amazing to see how well it worked. The check-ins had a whole lot more of a purpose than rather just being the mayor, which really didn't interest me all that much in general. You certainly were not going to be the mayor of the Austin Convention Center with all the thousands of people there, but what it did allow me was the opportunity to really know who was in the same room that I was in, who was going to different places, who was meeting up with who at different areas, and gave me a chance to really get there. And I mean, a funny story. One of the problems that happened there was that the AT&T was so slow in delivering messages that in some cases I discovered there were people in the same room with me who had actually left half an hour, 45 minutes before because their check-in just arrived at that time. But again, a perfect use case for it. Yeah, exactly.
Right. So, and then there were other times where you used Foursquare by looking at what we were doing to find a different room to go to see a different event.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, the thing about South by Southwest is that I think it remains a hugely unique opportunity to really meet people of real disparate directions and disciplines in this whole kind of industry. And that's really huge. But it's also a place where it's to listen to good information, but also just to meet folks and network. And in some cases, you're sitting in a quiet session, it's not really going anywhere. You happen to see somebody tweeting from the next hall down, and you say, well, maybe I'll go there and meet him because I've really always wanted to get together with that person. And the interesting thing about that is that, for me at least, one of the great things about that event was it was sort of, I think for me and for a lot of people, it was sort of a meet the avatar kind of situation.
Right.
I met about 40 or 50 people who I had really developed a relationship with through social media, through comments, through back and forth discussions, kind of whatever. We recognized we were sort of more or less in the same business, had similar types of interests. And what was really quite beautiful about the power of Twitter and social media was the ability to be able to walk up to somebody, and sometimes even before you reached out to introduce yourself, they're like, oh, I know you. I've been dying to meet you. And it made for a really much richer networking kind of experience.
Right, so that's an example of the power of social media in terms of building your own personal brand. You've been blogging and tweeting for quite a while. People have been following you. So it's great when you have that opportunity, and John and I both experience that as well. It's pretty rewarding, and it gives you a smile like you're a mini celebrity of some sort, which I would
exactly.
Maybe John is actually, he's a published author, but the rest of us are still trying. But Twitter does give you that opportunity, and especially with people that you're following back and forth, there's a little bit of that as well. Was there, Deb, were you microblogging? Were you tweeting a lot from the conference?
No, not really as much as I used to. The last time I'd gone down, I blogged on a serious level. It was just too busy, too frenetic, and too crazy to really do a lot of that. What I did not do, fortunately, is what a lot of people did who were mentioned in the New York Times article about South by Southwest, where it was there was an article that came out that talked about everyone at home being jealous of getting everyone's tweets of like, I'm having tacos next to Danny DeVito,
right.
I'm next to this famous person, I'm having a blast. No, I mean, I think, what I did and what I generally try to do with my microblogging, with my tweets, is get to as much interesting information as possible and really kind of convey as much as possible the kind of ideas that are kind of coming out, if not on certain occasions, expressing being happy to meet a friend or something like that.
Right. And then on the other side, in terms of your in-conference activity, you use GroupMe as a way to make sure you got to the right party?
Well, not to too many, but certainly to small parties. Yeah, GroupMe was really very interesting, and I think there was no really one big coming out party at South by Southwest this year, but I think a lot of these smaller networking or more discreet networking kind of tools were out there. GroupMe was there, and a group of friends from Connecticut all decided to go on that same platform so we could get together more easily. I found the platform very useful in terms of kind of keeping track of, again, this smaller kind of group that I wanted to get together with. But I found that the way it presented sort of its content and experience was a lot less rich than some of the more established platforms like Foursquare, like Gowalla, where you also, around the event and the ideas, you get a mass of additional information.
So it's an idea in progress, but still, it sounds like it's trying to get you around that Yogi Berra problem of nobody goes there, it's too crowded.
Yeah, well, exactly, and I think that idea of, again, these instant connections and really the idea also of, do you really want the entire social network that you're in to know exactly what you're doing, and they probably don't care anyway, so let's keep it among a tight, confined group.
That does make sense. I certainly don't need to see people's check-ins at lunches. That's not a good use of Twitter.
So then you have the after part of the event. So you went home, and what was your follow-up that you're using with your social media tools with the people that you saw?
Well, I think really the after part really is again going back and kind of blogging more and thinking more, trying to build the relevance of what happened into that kind of area from a networking and a personal standpoint. Again, the very simple fact of putting faces to names or avatars is really a big deal, and as much as we want to create and carry on virtual relationships, it makes a real difference when you can actually talk to somebody face to face. Really, even if it's a brief kind of conversation, and again, for me, I think one of the strongest things that happened was seeing people who I had a huge amount of respect for at very high level positions in companies and agencies that I know of, really telling me about the exact same problems that I deal with on a regular basis and being able to relate to those things. It makes an enormous difference to see that. I still think that South by Southwest, although people are talking a lot about it sort of jumping the shark as they do every year, is still the one place where you still are able to get a lot of people from various disciplines together in one area to really create a unique kind of conversation. There are very few places like that anymore. But it did go from 11,000 last year to 20,000 this year, and you wonder how long they're going to be able to really maintain that kind of scale.
Right. It's huge, but somehow, at least for the moment, self-organizing. Exactly. That is, it sounds like people come to the event using tools like this, understanding a little bit more clearly on a personal basis what they're going to get out of it, know how to execute on that more effectively once they get there, and hopefully have some pretty good follow-up.
Absolutely.
Excellent. Well, hopefully we'll be with you next year at South by Southwest. I really want to be there. I'll be pushing it up to 30,000. Okay, well, this has been great. What's that?
Excellent.
Excellent. We'll all be there. So, Dan, thank you so much for joining us on 10 Minute Strategy. This is Peter Propp. Thanks for being with us.
This is John Blossom, and Dan, why don't you plug yourself here before we go?
Dan Weingrod, and I'm a internet strategy innovation consultant. And
where can they find you?
You can find me at my blog at danweingrod.com.
Thanks very much, Dan. Take care.